Sup guys, how we doing? And welcome back to another podcast. So today I have Khifie with me, who is a 2 times BNBF Scottish champion. So firstly, thank you for coming on the podcast. If you'd just like to explain a little bit to the listeners, sort of who you are, how you got into the industry, yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Thank you for bringing me on. Thank you, I appreciate it. So my name's Khifie. I'm 21 years old. I'm from Scotland. I'm from Stranraer. So I'm a competitive bodybuilder. I've competed within the BNBF. I've also competed within the NABA, UKDFBA. So I've had this me on to what my second year competing now. I'm also a professional wrestler. So I like to travel. I like to travel about with bookings and things like that. Whenever shows come along, obviously if I get booked for shows, it's a lot of fun. I love training. I love food. Everything. There's so much stuff. But when anything that there's food involved, I'll be there. I'll be there. But yeah. So I appreciate it again. Thank you for bringing me on.
No, thank you for coming on, man. So what got you into bodybuilding in the first place? Like, talk a little bit about your own personal journey. We spoke about just before we went on a second ago in terms of the only gym that's in the place that you live. So what kind of got you in the first place?
Yeah. Well, this is me I've been in the gym for 5 years now. So it was a case of whenever I started the gym, I never started the gym for bodybuilding. I never knew a single thing about bodybuilding. I'll be honest, even when I was like maybe 2 to 3 years into bodybuilding, I never had a clue anything about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Couldn't tell you a single thing. But it was, I was training. I was actually in the gym for the wrestling, so I was like, obviously, I had to wait until I was 16 before I could train to be a professional wrestler. So that way, I got into the gym like a year before. Started like obviously seeing results and stuff like that because I used to be like a really fat kid, so I did. I was like, oh, it was awful. So got into that. Obviously, you start seeing results, blah blah blah. You stick to it, and then obviously I had the wrestling coming up, so I was like, right, I'm going to put the work in. Need to obviously put myself out there, try and get noticed as much as possible. Do this, do that when I go to training. And then it was a case of one day I went in, and obviously I was training, and there's a guy from Stranraer that's like, he's a bodybuilder. He's like a really good bodybuilder, competes within like the NABA and things like that. So I'm not actually sure what class he's in, but like he's a really big guy. Like he's really big. And I went in one day, and he came in, and I was just like, I was mesmerised. I was like, this was the first ever time of me seeing like a big bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. And it was literally they came in, right, and he came in, and I was odd time I would say hello to him and stuff like that, but like he would stay covered up. But this time he came in and he had like a t-shirt on, and all that I could see was his arms, these big freakish arms. And it was seeing these like the veins in the biceps and everything, and like his triceps, and oh my god, I was just like, I just kind of looked at them, and like I couldn't stop looking at them. It was that kind of thing. And obviously I can always remember him like talking to me about bodybuilding and stuff like that, and like I would never be interested in stuff. But it was like when he came in, he's called Davey Murphy. So like there's a few videos on YouTube from him at like the NABA Universe and stuff like that. So if anybody like out there obviously wants to go and check and see who he is, then there is a couple of videos on YouTube. So he came into the gym, started talking about bodybuilding and stuff like that, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. And it was ever since like that day that obviously he had turned around and went to me like, had I ever considered bodybuilding and things like that? And I was like to him, nah, not really. Like I never ever thought it was like for me. But obviously I was never into it. I'd never taken anything to do with it. To be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you any bodybuilders that was like around at that time. So it was like when I kind of left that day, then I started looking more into it and getting more into it. And then obviously I think I was like maybe 2 years into my training, and that's when I started taking more to do with my training. So basically seeing what works for me, what doesn't work for me. At that point I still never took anything to do with the like nutrition side of things, but obviously it was getting more and more into it. And then I took another year's worth of training, and then I was thinking to myself like, imagine like what would happen if I did try and like compete. So it was a case of that time I was thinking to myself, right, well, should I compete or should I not compete? And then I was thinking, do you know what, I'll just take another year, because I was like 17 at the time, 16, 17 at the time. So I thought, if I even give myself like another year, and then I know there's teen classes, so I could go in and see obviously where I stand as like a teen, just to start off, because obviously it's my first year. I'm not gonna, like, in reality, I'm not gonna expect big things. At that point, I'd never like conquered my mind or anything like that. You know, I would never think of any of the stupid things that I think of like right now or things like that. So it was mainly like, it was him that got me into it at the very start, and then from like day one, there's always been a guy that's worked in the gym as like a trainer, as like a manager kind of guy. So like he's been there since day one as well, from like through my journey from day one in the gym to
is he the one
even,
that's always
like today?
Is he all the way? Is he the guy that's always in the Instagram videos?
That's okay. Mike. Yeah.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah, he's just literally he takes me to like fucking hell every single day with anything in sex. It's like, especially legs, and it's crazy. Well, even it doesn't even need to be legs. It's like even shoulders or back, or he's good. He's a really good trainer. So yes. So
let's go back to when you first started into the gym. So you initially went into the gym with the aim of getting to wrestling, and you know you need to increase that. So that started. You kind of met this guy. I've completely forgot his name. You said it was Murphy.
Yeah, it's David Murphy. Yeah,
David Murphy. So from that transition, from when you met him and he started talking about bodybuilding, how did that transition start into getting into bodybuilding? Did your nutrition start changing? Did your training splits start changing?
Yeah, well, basically, like before that, I used to go into the gym every day, and like I would just basically train full body. You know, I would just go in and do the same shit over and over again and over again. And I don't know why, I would never get bored of it, but I would obviously just do it. And then it was kind of since that day that I went home and started looking into things. So like more into obviously specific exercises, what say work your chest, what works your back, your shoulders, legs, this, that, the next thing. And then looking into splits. So obviously say, for instance, looking into like your push-pull leg split, or even going in one day and doing chest, going in the next day doing back, looking into more things like that. At that point, I was still, because obviously I was so young, I was still eating whatever I wanted to eat every single day, but like naturally I was a fat kid, so I would eat a lot. So I mean, I kind of had that advantage of always eating a lot. So I feel that that's favoured me, but it was not since, when would it have been? My first year competing was 2018. So it was ever since January or February 2018. February, I think it was, that's when I started taking over my nutrition. So like basically I started looking into more things. I started obviously kind of reaching out for help and stuff like that, to obviously see what kind of things I should be taking in every day, what things I shouldn't be, and stuff like that. So it was quite a big difference, because obviously I would go from probably eating rubbish foods every single day to cutting all that out, and obviously not eating rubbish foods every single day, and then going on to a prep and stuff like that. So it was quite a big difference. Quite a
big transition, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your approach to training. So you absolutely smash the three main lifts, the squat. So if anybody hasn't checked Khifie's Instagram out, I'll put the link in the description below, but you've got to check him out in terms of his squat, deadlift, bench. So how did that start happening? We spoke about just before we got on, that even in your prep, your numbers were increasing in the exercise that you were doing. So when did those three lifts start become a priority? And kind of tell the listeners how on earth you can fucking bench like 140 for like 30 reps. Not bench, how much you can squat 140 for 30 reps. Just explain that a little bit.
So it's like, well, I've only grew up in one gym for the full 5 years that I've been training, so it's only been a case of like the machines that we've got in the gym, or say for instance like the free weights and stuff, that's the only stuff I've had for like my full 5 years of training. So obviously when I started taking over my training, then it was a case of obviously looking more into things. I was thinking to myself, well obviously I've only got say this squat rack, I've only got this bench, there's 2 free bars in the gym, and I've got these machines, and that's it. So like I've got to make this work. I've not got a you know, a chest supported seated row here, a hammer strength pull down machine here. I've not got a, you know, things like that. That like all the modern day stuff. I've literally only got like the basic movements. So it's been a case of, because I've only had them, I've always done them. I've always loved going in and jumping on the bench press, even though it sucks. My bench will always suck, but I've always loved going in and doing deadlifts, or say squats. Squats took me say 2 to 3 years to get used to, but now that it's been a case of like maybe the last year and a half, so not even that long, but maybe the last year and a half that it's took me to like take over my own mindset. So like take over my mind, what I actually want, what I'm willing to go in and like obviously put the work in for. So it's been a case of like doing my bodybuilding preps and then transitioning from that onto my off season. So going from maybe not eating so much to obviously getting the chance to eat that bit more, and then having that little extra bit of energy and things like that, going into the gym. But again, like as I say, and as I always preach on my social medias and stuff like that, it's a mind game more than anything else. Like I'll always believe that. Oh, is that thing?
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I'll always believe that, like, regardless of how big you are, you can still be weak as shit. And regardless of how small you are, like you'll always see small guys thinking, oh well, I'm not going to lift as big as him because he's obviously like much bigger than me, blah blah blah. And bigger guys are like, oh well, he's not going to lift as much as me because he's small, things like that, you know what I mean? So it's a mindset, because like I'll always see there's always like little guys going about being able to squat, you know, 3.5 times their body weight, and there's always bigger guys that'll, you know, you'll see maybe struggling to deadlift 1.5 times their body weight. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's when you think of things like that, then it's just been a case of fuck it, you go in to do it and you do it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I always believe it's a mindset, it's a mind game. And like the guy that I was telling you about, Davey Murphy, that obviously I spoke to at like one of my very first days, he always told me, like, this is one thing I'll never forget before I go into absolute every single set that I'm going to go all out in. He always told me that, like, I would go straight to him, like I would go to him and be like, oh, I would love to be like you one day, you know what I mean? Like I was at that age that I was wanting to, he inspired me, I was looking up to him, you know? Like he always told me that you should never aim to be the same as somebody, you should always aim to be better. So like regardless, even when you think of your IFBB pros, your Olympia guys, even if you're going down the routes of like powerlifting, or you know, there's lots of things, you should always aim to be better. So like I'm always aiming to be better, as much as I'm not always aiming to be better than somebody, I'm always aiming to be better than myself, you know. So like I don't believe in the logbook and stuff like that, you know, like for training and things. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I 100% believe it works. Obviously it's evidence based, it does work, but it's never been for me. So that's why I always just keep track of, say, the squats, benches and deadlifts. So I mean, it's just been a case of, after last year's prep, obviously my mind took over a lot more, and that's how I think my lifts have just like increased so much, especially within like my squat, bench and deadlift, because obviously my bench was only, I think, it must have been even before prep last year, my bench was only like 120. So it's been a case of like, it was like really, really bad then, and as much as it's really, really bad now, it's improved a lot. And then deadlifts went from 220 in, when would it have been, end of my first prep, I think. So I think my deadlifts were 220, and then it's shot to 300, and squats would have been, oh god, I think squats would have been 200 max, I think, for one, and then they're up to 270 for a single, and then 250 now for reps and 240 for reps. So it's been a case of just, I just believe it's all in the mind. I don't believe it's anything else. Yeah, definitely.
And that's why I wanted to get you on, Khifie, because obviously, like we will touch on personal training and stuff, but obviously this podcast is mainly aimed at, like, you know, personal training, online coaching and stuff. But I think the mindset that you create for yourself and what you do, not just bodybuilding but in life, I think is very, very important for people to understand. I think a lot of times people can compare yourself to someone else. Oh, I want to be like that bodybuilder. I'm going to be like him in 5 years' time, or I'm going to be like that PT. Like, you've got it's you versus you. I thought it was quite interesting what you said in the logbook, because you're absolutely spot on. Before we spoke, again, going back to what we spoke about beforehand, you were saying when you know yourself, when a set feels on point, you know exactly you're going for it. So if your logbook said you're doing, it can kind of confuse you a little bit. If your logbook says different numbers to what you're feeling, then you know it doesn't quite work. So it's quite interesting that you say about that. What's kind of progressed the most? What would you say out of the three in the last kind of 6 months to a year? What's progressed the most?
Probably deadlifts. Deadlift for sure. Simply because obviously it's just went from June time to, I'm trying to think when it was. It was about Christmas time or just after Christmas time was the 300. So that was from June to say Christmas was an increase of 80 kilo on deadlifts alone. Second would be squats, and then last would be bench. But I would always like dominate deadlifts. I look forward to going in, and doing squats and benches. But when there's a deadlift day coming up, then it's like it's weird. I start getting nervous and stuff, But it's like I'm like, you're right, shit. I need to go in. I'm going into deadlift, and then I don't know what it is. It's like the night before you go in and train legs. You get nervous as shit, and it's like
you're excited at the same time in a weird way.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about your approach to training. So we've sort of touched on the 3 main lifts. You always preach on your Instagram, arm day every day, bro.
Yes.
So let's talk about your kind of approach to training and how you kind of portray yourself and what you do. So.
Okay. Well, the difference being as well. Modern day bodybuilders, everything is always a push-pull leg split. So again, like, that's never been my thing. So it's like it's never worked. It's not even that. It's like I have attempted it. I've attempted it, but it's been a case of like I don't know. I just not took to it. So I'll forever stick to the bro split. So like I'll go in and I'll train chest, and then say maybe like I'll go into back or legs, and then shoulders itself. And then obviously I'll train arms at the end of my sessions, like every single day.
Yeah.
But like I don't know why I'm totally unsure why it started. I just kind of started training arms every single day, and it's worked. Yeah. Like it has worked. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it like for the rest of my life until my arms fall off.
So like what was I going to say? So you say you don't use a logbook and stuff. Do you kind of like plan the week out? So okay, I'm going to do do you kind of have a rough guideline of what you're doing, or do you go into like you wake up the next morning, you think like, I'm going to train this today? Is that kind of how it works, or you kind of plan the week ahead?
Well, I'll go like it'll really just depend. So it'll depend if I'm traveling on the weekends. So say if I'm traveling on the weekends, then I'll try and leave like I'll try my best to leave a good workout. So say for instance like a back workout or a leg workout to a bigger gym. So like obviously there's more use of new equipment and stuff like that I never get to use, and then obviously deadlifts and things like that. Being able to deadlift on a platform. So like in my gym there's no platforms or anything like that. It's literally just obviously the floor. But I kind of at the start of the week I know really what I'm going to train. So obviously if I know International Chest Day is always Monday, I know I'm going to always train chest on Monday regardless of where I am. And then it could go to say legs. Shoulders usually falls say maybe on a Wednesday really. It just depends. It depends because if I've done say legs on the weekend.
Sorry guys about the sound there. Sorry mate, you were saying.
Oh yeah, so it's a case of like when it gets to say for instance I was training legs on the weekend, then I might have like it could get to Tuesday, Wednesday, and either my legs could be feeling okay to go again, but then again my legs could be feeling like really, really, really bad. so I would need to obviously kind of maybe change something in there. But sometimes, like, it's always been a case of training legs once a week, because once I go in and do my legs are literally, like, my legs are completely fucked for the complete week. Like, they take like a good 5 to 6 days to kind of not wake up in the morning and be like, oh, my legs are still really sore, you know. But then obviously I have had, say, some weeks, like there's been quite a few weeks recently where I've been squatting twice a week. So it's been a case of I've been doing my squats, been doing, say, leg press or my extensions, full leg workouts, and then I've been ready to go again in like maybe 4 days time. So it's been a case of doing legs again, and then the next 4 days I'll then do legs again. But I kind of always know what I'm going to train before I go in. It's just when I go in, I do whatever I feel. So it's like I do what's right. I'll always do my compounds. So say I'll always do my flat bench, incline bench, you know, like bent over rows. Always do my squats, deadlifts once a week. So it means that I'm going to train back twice a week. So as much as I do the bro split, I train everything twice a week, just like a push-pull leg split. So it's always a case of, once people ask me, oh, why do you do the bro split? Because obviously your frequency is going to be a lot different than things. And then obviously when I turn around and go, well, I'm still training everything twice a week, it's like a case of, oh, how are you doing that and things like that. So I'll still train back twice a week. So one day it'll be heavy bent over rows, the next day it'll be heavy deadlifts. So on like the day that, say, it's bent over rows, it could be like bent rows, T-bar rows, things like that. Things that's like compensating for like a heavy deadlift session. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, man. That's really.
It's kind of things like that.
It's quite unique because you kind of like, there's not many people that train like you, but then there's not many people that get results like you in terms of strength, thickness that you're getting. So let's change subject to kind of wrestling. So that was the very first point that you touched on in terms of getting into it. What made you kind of get into it in the first place, and currently where are you at in terms of that? Like, you're doing it at the weekends and stuff?
Well, it was a case of once, it was when I was in, I must have been like, it's the same as like every wrestler's growing up thing. You know, you were little, you were in the house, the wrestling came on TV, blah blah blah. So I must have been like, I think I was like maybe 5, 6, 7-year-old or something like that, and I was wrestling on TV. So it was a case of like that was on. I never really took that much to do with it. Kind of year passed, I was still kind of into it. Started collecting, you know, like the figures and stuff like that, the rings. Like I've got a whole room that's just full of shit. It's like full of just wrestling stuff, you know, from like collecting stuff from when I was so wee to like, obviously I must have stopped collecting like, a good maybe 3 to 4 years ago now or something like that. So it's always been John Cena that's like inspired me to get into it. He's always been, you know, that one guy that I've never shut up about, or I've always watched, or like I can still watch him to this day. Like he's always been the one guy that's inspired me to get into wrestling the most. Then once I kind of started going to events. So it was, there's the closest event to me right now is the one up in Ayr, so it's about an hour and a half away, just over that, and it's Pro Wrestling Elite, and it's run by Adrian McCallum. So he's from Ayr himself, and when I had to wait until I was 16, so obviously I was going to like events and stuff like that, and then I had to wait till I was 16 before I could actually start training, so start actually going to a wrestling school to learn how to do everything that's involved in becoming obviously a professional wrestler. So I was going to the events, and I started seeing that the school was being announced, the school was opening up, and I was thinking to myself, well, I think this is the right time. But it was a case of, it was a dream that I'd wanted to do that in reality only me believed in. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot different to like the bodybuilding things and stuff, because obviously for me to go to training, I've got to like travel up to Glasgow like every week and back up just for training and things like that. So it's literally like a lot of travelling, a lot of doing this, a lot of doing that, a lot of money spent. You know, it was like investing a lot. And then it was a case of, if I never believed in it and I never like kept going on about it and I never wanted to do it, I would never have done it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was nobody here that was going to push me to do it. You know, like, my mum's always been behind me and stuff like that. She's like, you know, like, number one support in that. She'll always believe me and stuff. But there was never anybody here that was like, yeah, you really need to go and do that. You should go and do that. It was like myself saying to myself that I need to do it, you know?
Do you think part of that is like, in terms of wrestling and bodybuilding, is that where it crosses over in terms of your mindset? So you have your mindset in bodybuilding, but in some ways it's very similar. It's not you versus you, because you're not fighting against yourself in wrestling and stuff, but like that similar kind of mindset, do they cross over, would you say?
Yeah, definitely, because it's a case of, in the wrestling, like, obviously you need to get noticed and stuff like that, which nowadays, because there's so many really, 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 really talented, like, young people, that, like, there's so many. So there's obviously so many talented young people, but there's not so many promoters. As much as there is a lot of there is a lot of promoters, there is a lot of promotions, there's obviously a lot more wrestlers. So it's like, now in like this day and age, it's a lot harder to get noticed. So it's really hard. So in the end, you need to put like a shit ton of work in, like, to be then obviously be like looked at and maybe obviously thought, and then maybe booked for promotions, things, booked for shows and stuff. So it's really hard. It's like one of the hardest things, for sure. It's kind of like a bodybuilding show as well. Like, you could go on a bodybuilding stage with like 30 other guys, but you know, there's like, the judges here are judging you, so it's a case of, it's, you run the stage, but there's like a lot, say 20, 28, 29 other guys beside you. So like, it's really hard. Wow. It's not going to be easy, you know. So it's a tough one, definitely. But then again, mentality is one of the big things as well, because obviously, because I need to travel so far, it would be easy enough for me to just say, like, wake up one day and go, like, I can't be fucked making the, you know, like the 4 or 5 hour round trip just to like do training, or just to like travel to shows and things. So it does play a big role in it, definitely.
That's mad. That's cool, man.
Definitely.
So we've touched on bodybuilding, wrestling. The last kind of point I want to talk on in terms of yourself is your personal training. So you do some PT on the side as well. How do you kind of transfer like what you know and what you apply to clients? I'm guessing potentially, are they similar kind of style they want to get into bodybuilding, or is it a mixture?
Well, that's the thing. It's like there's not one of my clients that I've got that are into like the bodybuilding side of things.
Yeah.
It's weird that way. Obviously, like, people want to gain strength, maybe gain weight, lose weight, you know, body fat loss, things like that. But that's the thing with like this little place here. There's nobody here that's into, say for instance, the kind of side that obviously people are interested in bodybuilding and stuff, but to properly go down the route of bodybuilding, and like no one like you yourself knows, but you'll also know that no one else understands what goes into, like, say, a contest prep.
Yeah.
What has to be done and what can't be done. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like what you do from like Monday to Friday, and then what you do from Friday to Monday. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So things like that. But towards like all my clients, I've always preached to every single one of my clients that like mentality is a really big thing. Even if you're coming into the gym just to train, definitely, because if your head's not in the game and you're coming in to train, like, obviously, say for instance, you've had like a shit day, and then you're coming into the gym, you're feeling shit, but all you can think about is the shit day that you've just had. You're not interested in training, you're not interested in this, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that. You know what I mean? It's going to play a big role in your session, which in reality is going to play a big role in your results, because if you're say you're having 10 sessions and maybe 2 or 3 of them you're coming in, or 4 maybe even, you're coming in and you're feeling shit, you know, and you're not feeling up to it, and obviously it's the trainer's job to obviously help that, but obviously then put the client through a session, do this, do that with them, and help them along the way. But like, it's easy enough done to go into like the gym yourself and be like, oh, I can't be fucked today, so it's not going to be 100% effort, which again is going to have a big effect on the end. You know what I mean? So it's like through the process, obviously there's going to be shit days, but you'll know yourself on the shit days that you really need to go in and still kind of give as much as possible, you know?
Yeah.
As bad as it sounds, it's like, it is true. It is true, definitely. But that's one of the things I would, like, more than happy to help absolutely anybody, like, regardless where they come from, what they do, what they're wanting to do. More than happy to look into absolutely anything just to, like, help any one of my clients. Definitely.
Good.
Definitely. I love it. I think it's great. And then if they're ever struggling with anything, I would love to, like, I would love to be the one to be able to help that. Like, my journey, I wish that, like, obviously from me at the very start to me the now, like, I'm only 5 years in, so I'm still at the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm just still starting. But at that, if that can, like, if people could look at that and have that as, like, a, not necessarily like an inspiration, but if they can look at that and kind of retaliate to that, then, like, I feel that that's me. Like, I've done something, like, that's helped. As much as that's helped them, that's obviously motivated me as well, because, like, my journey's helping somebody else. You know what I mean? So it's like that. But I think it's great.
I think with that as well, I think, like, if someone's to go on your Instagram there and they look at yourself and they think, like, yeah, this is the guy that's been lifting for years and he's lifting that and the other, but it's not that, because, like you've exactly explained there, it's taken years to kind of get where you are at the moment, and like you said, this is only the beginning. So firstly, a lot of people look at that as the kind of the goal. So people look at you where you're at the moment, but people don't realise that a lot of work has been put into that, and it's not just the work in the gym. It's like it's the mentality, like you said. I think it's absolutely spot on what you said, and you've had to work towards that. So, you know, obviously you can transition that very well, because obviously you've got that mentality, and you can provide a fantastic service. So, in terms of the free fitness, bodybuilding, for example, your work, wrestling, PT, how do you manage it all? Like,
I believe, like, time management is a main factor, definitely. Like, I've just right up above you right now, I've got a whiteboard, so it's like everything needs to be written down to what I'm doing.
That's cool, man.
Through the days, through the weeks, I need to know what's coming up. I need to, like, think everything like that. You know, like, the way we planned this, we planned a time, we planned everything, so everything was like, it wasn't just, like, it wasn't just, you know, off the cuff. It wasn't just, oh, do you want to do this? We'll do it in, like, 20 minutes and that'll be it. You know what I mean? Like, I need to know when, like, everything's going to happen. Yeah. I don't necessarily have, like, meal timings, like, specifically meal timings. I will do, like, on a certain phase, but, like, when I went onto my off season and stuff like that, I was literally just eating, like, say, every 2 hours, every 2.5 hours. So it was a case of, maybe say, like, I ate at, like, 12 o'clock, and then if I didn't eat till, like, 2:30, and then maybe I ate my next meal a little bit earlier, it was things like that. That was okay. But to manage, obviously, my things like my clients, training, when it comes up to wrestling shows, I need to, like, my time management needs to be really, like, it needs to be on key. I need to know what I'm doing here, what I'm doing there, you know.
No, spot
so
on.
That's definitely one of the main things. Write all my shit down and just tick it off as it goes.
Is wrestling purely at the weekends, or did you say you're doing training during the week as well?
Yeah, so, like, well, there's training nights during the week, but I work most of the week, so it's because of, like, my travelling and stuff like that, it's kind of, I have to keep mine to weekends. So like, most shows happen on weekends and things like that. There is, like, the odd shows that do happen, like, through the week, but most shows happen on weekends. So, like, say for instance, if I was to get booked for a show, it would probably either be, like, a Saturday or a Sunday, and then my training days would, say, like, happen on a Sunday, so I would travel up. I used to do, like, sessions during the week, so either, like, a Tuesday night or even, like, an odd, like, Thursday night or Wednesday night, but the majority of the time it happens on the weekends, so, like, that's where I would go up and train, and that's at the Glasgow Pro Wrestling Asylum. So that's actually a school up in Glasgow. So it is. They've got a new intake actually coming up, I think. I'm not sure if it's sold out yet, so obviously if there is anybody watching this and would love to get into wrestling are in maybe the Scotland area, or not necessarily, because obviously it's a really good school and it's worth travelling to, and I've obviously found that out because the amount of like shitty hours that I've travelled on like trains, on buses, cars, you know, like everything, it's always been worth it. Like the school has always been really good, the coaches have been the best, it's like topped by like 5, 6. I think there's a good lot of head trainers now at it, and they're the best in the UK, you know, so it's like it's really good that way, you know. So
brilliant, man.
Yeah.
The last question I want to ask before I get into the questions from other people is what are your kind of thoughts of the fitness industry? Because obviously when you think of fitness, it's a massive scale, right? There's all different sides of it. So, you know, you've got bodybuilding, you've got people like Gymshark, like obviously I like the clothing myself, but obviously you have the athletes, you have people that promote like kind of Herbalife and that kind of industry. So what's your kind of overall, like, because obviously we talked about your niche and your mindset and what you create and stuff. So from you looking into like the rest of the side of it, like what's your thoughts? What do you like and dislike?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I believe the fitness industry has been ruined by people like, you know, your top glamour models and stuff like that that's given out this sort of fucking fat burner, or you know, like these pills, this, that, the next thing, and are making so much money because they've got, say for instance, 2-3 million followers, and they're posting on Facebook, Instagram, maybe making a 2-minute YouTube video saying, take these pills this many times a day, I've took it and I've lost a stone or something like that. You know, and are selling it for like maybe, I don't know, 20-30 quid, maybe more. And that many people like are buying into that rubbish, when in reality, like, they're literally just helping that one person make a lot of money over a lot of bullshit. So I believe that the fitness industry's been taken over by rubbish like that, rubbish like Just Plus, you know what I mean? Things like that, like things that's like helping basically fat loss.
Yeah.
You know, that's the main thing. That's, you instantly think of, say for instance, the gym. Not everybody obviously wants to put on weight, but instantly you think, oh, you go to the gym to lose weight. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a case of, if you can get like a quick fix and you can lose this stone in a month, then obviously you're going to buy into it. And obviously if somebody's got 1 million followers, you're going to think, oh, well, it must be legit. But I don't know what it is. It's pathetic. Like, there's nothing worse. And instantly when people come up to me and they're like, maybe say they've took Juice Plus, or, you know, there's like a lot of this shit out there that seems to be like becoming a big thing, and it's like, fine, fair enough, you see these people maybe losing weight for like the first 3 weeks and you're like, alright, that's fair enough. But then you look at them the next 3 weeks or the next 3 weeks, they've either piled double the amount of weight back on, or they've just like fucked off, and it's just not became a thing. It's just been a big waste of money, you know. But like that kind of side of things is like, it's like with that, and then obviously, as you said, like with Gymshark and stuff like that, I mean, I don't really look that much into obviously stuff like that. I see like their Gymshark are kind of reaching out more now to, I don't know, like involve more of the big kind of bodybuilders. So obviously you get like Chris Bumstead and stuff like that. Now in with Gymshark.
What's your thoughts on that? Are you a fan of it? Like, before the Gymshark thing, would you say you're a fan of the old Bumstead? Like,
I don't know. Like, it would be he is like, fair enough, he's a really good bodybuilder, like, but I'm not sure. He would never be one that I would go like specifically onto YouTube and want to watch or anything like that, you know. Like, I can watch him, but I've never really been that big of a fan. You know what I mean? It's like, what about yourself? What's your thoughts on?
So
like,
the reason I sort of said that, because obviously I find like with the industry now, a lot of like kind of the markets are like exactly what you said with the Bombstead. I was going to come on to that, was they're kind of transferring as such, and like you say with Gymshark for me is a lot like Apple, even though I'm working off a MacBook and I have an iPhone and everything, but starts off very, very small, and then just it's a bit of a rash, so it takes over everybody's lives. And like, I find that Gymshark, because obviously they're very clever, it's frustrating. Like I always talk about the industry in terms of like the Herbalife, Juice Plus and stuff. It's a quick like dollar. So, and I think they're trying to stop that in terms of like ads and stuff, because what happens is as a PT you'll know it's unrealistic expectations. So somebody will come in and automatically, you talked about your mentality and stuff and put the graft and stuff. That person's mentality has been brainwashed to think that you can get results in like 3 weeks, and it's like, hang on, like it doesn't work like that. Just take a step back and realise. I think it's a hard one. I think like, yeah, it's a hard one. Like I love the industry so much. I think it's just the unrealistic expectations, and like I said with the transfer, like in terms of, is that what we're going to see in the future? Are we going to see like more kind of bodybuilders, not just the Bumsteads, but like more guys kind of like mixed? You know, are we going to see someone from Gymshark start promoting Herbalife? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what's next? So, don't know, man. Don't know.
It's becoming a very weird industry.
Yeah,
and it's the same as well, because obviously you can transfer onto say the bodybuilding side of things and think of, like, you've obviously got your natural side of things, you've got your assisted side of things, but it's getting to the point where, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's getting to the point where people, like, natural athletes believe what an assisted athlete is doing is going to work for them as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, that's becoming so much of a big thing. And then it's getting to a point where that's where I'll always preach my basics and stuff like that. So people are overcomplicating everything and basically overlooking the basic movements, overlooking the movements that like are evidence-based that works for natural athletes, and are deciding to move on to, say, for instance, I don't know, like random something that, you know, JP's doing or something like that, or, you know, like it's crazy like that. There's way too many. There's so much shit on, especially Instagram, like now, that it's a case of obviously that's that no hate against JP or anything. He's like JP's the man. He is like, you know, he's fucking one of the best. He's got all the knowledge. He's this, that, the next thing. But the difference being is, like, whatever works for JP is not going to fucking work for, I don't know, some little 106, 150 pound little skinny lad, you know. So it's like, it's this thing. It's like I don't know. It's just taken over. But as I say, it's like it's all involved in the fitness industry. It's just a weird fucking place now. So it's like either you just get on with whatever you're doing and just like forget about everything else. You know what I mean?
I agree, man.
It's so different.
So the two questions that I want to ask you from, I put on my Instagram story some questions. So two that I've just that I picked out. The first one is, when did you know when to compete? So we kind of touched on this earlier in terms of giving yourself time. So what would you advise someone to compete? Like, when about would someone potentially be ready? Obviously, it's individual. But like, how do you know when to compete? Like, what do you think?
It's just a case of like, I was at a place, like I was at a point in like obviously my bodybuilding journey where I never knew if I was ready. I never knew if it was like this was the time. But there was one year that I really did want to compete. I think I must have been 17 at the time. I was either 17 or 18, and I really wanted to compete. But then also what I kept thinking to myself was, what if I leave it another year? So like have another full year's worth of growing, because obviously in reality at this age you're going to do your most growing. So as much as it's really cool to jump into, say, the teen bodybuilding scene or the junior bodybuilding scene, it's like, are you gonna I don't know, take back on maybe years that you could have been like growing? So I would never, I don't know why, like obviously gain as much knowledge, gain as much strength, gain as much size, gain as much as you can before jumping onto a stage first. I would never just jump onto a stage for the sake of jumping onto a stage, because like going through a full contest prep and then coming to the big game day and going on stage, if you're maybe coming up against a guy that's been like doing everything that he needs to do, and obviously maybe trying to get as strong as possible, trying to gain as much size as possible. I know obviously it's much harder at such a young age, but at that age you're gonna keep growing and growing and growing. So I would never just jump on a stage for like literally just because you want to become a bodybuilder, or just because you want to maybe stick bodybuilder, natural bodybuilder, or whatever you want in your Instagram bio.
Yeah.
It's a case of like reach out to people that you know that have done it for say years, like years and years and years. Talk to them about it. Let them have a look at you. Let them see what you do. Let them like literally see how consistent you are as well, because it's easy enough to just say, all right, I'm going to just jump on a contest prep next week. But then transitioning onto a contest prep from not doing anything before is like one of the hardest things.
Great.
Like, you know what I mean? You'll know yourself from like recent contest preps that it's like not an easy thing. So I would always make sure that like you've got contacts. You know people that have done it for a while, even if that's needing to reach out to people on social media. But one thing I would always recommend is, if you're thinking about it, make sure that you're kind of like as much there already as possible. So especially at a young age, keep eating like fuck. Like that's the main thing. Eat like fuck. Don't care what it is, just eat. Train like fuck. Like literally train the hardest you've ever trained. I don't even care if that means that you're only going to be benching 60, 70 kilo. If 2 or 3 months ago you were benching 50 kilo and you're now benching that, keep going. Definitely keep training like fuck. Train as much as you can. And then when it comes to a point, obviously get in contact with somebody, see how you're looking. If they say obviously you're not looking, if they give you the answer that you don't want, so say for instance they give you the answer that, oh no, maybe you should take another year. So if you don't want that answer, and then you go to somebody else trying to get the answer that you want, because obviously you just want them to turn around and go, oh yeah, you're ready for stage. But in reality, if you're not ready for stage and somebody tells you that, if they know their shit, you're not ready for stage. Yeah. Definitely. Like, you need to be, it's a case of being like, mentality comes into it as well. If your mind's not in the right place either, and it comes to the weekends and like you just want to binge or you just want to go out and do shit like that, like that's another point as well. Like what would you say? Like what would you say to that? Would you say you're ready for stage at that?
Well, it's quite interesting what you were saying. I completely agree. I think a lot of people now that I see step on stage just for the sake of it, because they just think it's going to look cool and stuff. You don't realise how tough it is. Again, like you said, if you're there, then you'll find it easier. But to drop your levels of body fat, it's tough in your body. I was actually a culprit of, I had a decent off season, and I was like, I got a coach and I wanted to compete. And then the top two guys, because I was 22 at that time. So the top two guys, was it 22 or 20? Yeah, 22. The top two guys that won were 32 and 31 years old, right? Looked insane, right? And if I don't look back at regret in any aspect at all of my life, but looking back in hindsight, like why would I like go into a contest prep for 4 months to know that I'm going to step on stage and I'm going to be in a position where those two guys are going to shit all over me because they've got 10 years of muscle tissue on me. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And they've obviously worked hard for that as well. So I think like you said, you've got to eat like fuck. You've got to train like fuck. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got to just put yourself in a position that you've built that muscle first, that you're ready to strip down. It frustrates me, going back to my question about the industry. You see a lot of people where they'll sell like a 4-week cutting plan or a 4-week bulking plan. That puts the mindset of like, oh yeah, like I can just bulk for 2 months and then I'm going to cut down and stuff. Like it doesn't work like that. So I completely agree. Colin Campbell, who's a fellow Scottish guy, I had him on my podcast last week. He asked the question, how do you find the Scottish fitness scene? I think because he's from, Edinburgh, Glasgow. I think near Glasgow.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're slightly further away. You said you're a couple of hours away from Glasgow. How do you find up in Glasgow? Like, what's it? How do you find up in Scotland? What's it like?
It's especially like being where I'm from, there's nothing here. There's not a single thing here. Whereas from here being like such a little place, going up to say Glasgow's obviously a much bigger place. People coming out of Glasgow, like a lot of people coming out of Glasgow and achieving like a lot of really big things. That it's like when you've got a big place up there, say for instance, you post stuff in like a really good gym, you post stuff in maybe a really good, like it doesn't even need to be towards the gym, but obviously anything else, you've got a lot more people looking at it, you've got a lot more people like able to see it, a lot more people able to share it, you know what I mean? So like it's a case of being from here, it's a case of trying to hit the spot, of hitting that spot and like having a lot of people trying to see it. Because I've seen where I've like, I don't know, like uploaded a video, say onto Instagram, and maybe it was like a deadlift video or squat video or something like that, and it's maybe only got like 100 views. But if you were to say go further up into like say Glasgow or even further to Edinburgh or past that, and then you were to say, I don't know, like somebody was to upload something that obviously was impressive, but you're thinking to yourself like maybe like you've done something more impressive, but obviously they're getting much out there because they've got like, you've got a lot more like big facilities to go to, you've got a lot more like obviously I believe it comes down to equipment as well, things like that, because I'm always constantly preaching the basics. Like I know it can get boring and stuff like that, and obviously I don't have like all your big fancy machines and stuff, but I don't know, I believe that being where I'm from now is like, it's really hard to kind of get out there in the fitness industry kind of side of things. Like even in the Scottish side of things, now I'm just starting to notice much more people from Scotland in the fitness industry that I never ever knew were in it. But again, that's just coming down to social medias and stuff like that. And then again, that's coming down to me travelling to much bigger gyms such as like Future Fitness in Glasgow, you know, like the Body Academy, Perth, that's the home of the BNBF gym. It's like travelling to places like that, and now I'm kind of being able to recognise more people in the fitness industry side of things.
Yeah.
But even at that, I mean, anywhere really, the fitness industry, I guess it's really hard to get out into. Like, I mean, unless you're like, I don't know, I just believe it's really hard. And then obviously being from a little kind of place like this, where nobody views any of your shit that you post, and it's like nobody talks about it. There's no more bodybuilders around here or anything like that. You know, it's like quite a tough one.
Yeah.
But
that's quite interesting to know actually, because obviously, like we said, like when you think of Scotland, you think of Glasgow, Edinburgh. They're kind of more cities that you perhaps find in England, kind of like a Manchester or Liverpool, something like that. Whereas where you're from, that you said it's so small, so perhaps like, you do have to kind of stick to who you are as a person and what you're showing, because over time, as it's clearly showing, you're getting more and more noticed, and you're finding your niche without actually having to necessarily change. Like you're just doing you, and obviously it's taking time. That's interesting, man. That's really interesting to hear. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Cool, man.
It's good. It's been good fun.
Yeah, it's been wicked, mate. Honestly, it's if you guys want to check out Khifie's Instagram, you have a YouTube channel as well. I'll put the links in the description. Check him out. If you want any kind of like pre-leg day motivation, just click on one of his Instagram videos. And yeah, that'd be wicked, man. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, dude. And I will catch up very soon.
That'll do it. Thank you so much. Right. See you after, buddy.